Do you need to step away for a minute, Haley?
No.
Are you sure? Okay, because we're live.
All good.
All good things to everybody. All right, this is Fermenting Opinions. This is our Hangout portion of the program. It's been a busy night for us. We just did an interview earlier with Johan and Rotz on
some mind-expanding shit.
Quantum non-realism, which was pretty mind-expanding.
Which led to the overall concept of objective idealism.
Right, yeah, and that's what he was getting at with all that. And please check it out. Be ready to watch it a couple of times. I know I'm going to have to.
And if you're a physicist, please vet some of these quantum physical ideals, because I am not there. I mean, I've listened to the explanation, but I can't confirm.
We're not. Neither of us are physicists. I prefaced that whole conversation with that. Nonetheless, it was an interesting talk, and you guys should check that out. But don't be distracted when you listen to it. Otherwise, you're going to miss most of it. I sat there through a lot of it. But anyway, so tonight we are talking about, I guess, two sort of core topics. One is just like really sort of hot news about this Trump-Bannon fallout that I guess Bannon was working on a book. And
Bannon was a source in a book, but the book is actually called Fire and Fury. It's got some subtitle like Inside the Trump White House or something like that. So published by a journalist named Michael Wolff, who writes for The Guardian.
Gotcha. So Bannon was involved in it, and Trump responded explosively.
Trump was involved in it. All of his staffers, his aides. I mean, this guy had unprecedented access to the White House from like the very beginning.
Gotcha. And point being that Trump came out really hard against Bannon because of it. And Haley, you had that quote earlier. If you get a chance, if you could dig it up for us. But the other topic we're going to talk about tonight is over the holidays. We haven't done a hangout in probably a few weeks now, I think. Like lots happened in the meantime. The Republican tax bill has passed. It's been signed into law. I don't know exactly when it's supposed to take effect.
It took effect a couple days ago.
So when we do our taxes this year,
it's not going to take effect until September technically, but it'll be for the 2018 when you do your 2018 taxes.
Yeah.
So it's taking effect in September.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's what I was asking. Cool. And there's big tax cuts for corporations. The number went down to, was it 21%?
Yeah, it went from 35% as a corporate tax rate to 21%, which is a big drop.
And it's my understanding that basically going to blow a giant, massive, gaping hole in the deficit of like 1 point. Not just that, but the tax bill in general.
The actual national debt projection is a $1.5 trillion loss. I think that's over the next 10 or 15 years.
What are you saying?
I said I believe what I've read was that the national debt projection, like the effect on the national debt, not just the deficit, but the debt itself, is a $1.5 trillion addition to the debt.
To the deficit.
Yeah. You said loss.
And I'm going the wrong direction. I'm thinking a loss in the lost sense of like we're fucked. That money's gone. You know, like.
And also, like, what do you like the federal budget deficit? Is that what you're talking about?
That I don't know what the number is.
That's what I was talking about. That's what I thought was 1.5 trillion.
All right. No, we don't need to. Don't make me go like nerd on stuff about taxes. But I think you had to finish your intro.
Okay. Right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. And that's. I mean, what we're coming back to is sort of these two big things. This is sort of an enormous bill, essentially, and it's going to change so much. And it was so unpopular. It was grossly unpopular. I think from what I was reading, it was like less popular than Obamacare, like when they were trying to pass it. Like he just party fouled is what he just did.
I just chortled into my bourbon
because nobody really wanted this, and it was passed by just congressional Republicans and guys like Corker, who said he wasn't going to vote for it if it was going to add $1 to the deficit, and it added lots of dollars to the deficit. But it also included this provision for like pass-through corporations,
real estate.
And he's a real estate mogul, and so he voted yes. So it just
he's retiring,
and and he's retiring too, right? So what does he care about? The American people when he has his own business to worry about.
Melissa,
I thought about this guy. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh wait, no, finish the intro. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess, and I thought about this, and it's like, I could sit here and moralize about just and be sanctimonious about the way people in Congress act and just how just the lack of moral spine and all this stuff, and I can go on and on and on. But we know what they are. These are professional politicians. This is what they do. It shouldn't surprise anybody. We can waste a lot of time and effort and generate a lot of sound and fury being mad about it. But as a Democrat, I'm thinking this is why we need to get these people out without being upset or offended or any of these other things. We need people who care about the American people to be in there and get involved and do the right thing when the time comes, rather than these people who say anti-Trump stuff, which is all cool, and they're the Republican resistance. But when push came to shove, when it came down to caring about Americans and doing the right thing for our country, they didn't. They did what was right for themselves.
The issue I see with that is, though, I agree to a certain degree, but it's going to be in effect for the year of 2018. We all know that, and we also all know that in the year 2018, everyone is going to get a lot of benefits from the bill and it's going to last for another couple of years, very short term, but there's going to be I mean, but like, we need to study what's in it and figure out to actually have a better understanding of what, maybe you get a bigger tax increase, but how is this impacting everything? And is this the kind of, structure of funding governments and our budgets and everything in place, even though the taxes.
Right. Well, that's the gambit that's being proposed, essentially, is by drastically cutting taxes for the very wealthy and for corporations.
I mean, drastically cutting for them. I wanted to add in here just a little bit. I'm pretty sure that everyone sitting at this round table right now, all of us are going to see a tax decrease. It's going to benefit us, even if it's a small degree. I mean, some of us it will benefit greatly, some of us will not.
That depends. Not everybody. Some people see a marginal increase. Actually,
the four of us.
None of us are that rich.
I was going to say, well, no, exactly. But I was going to say, have you used a tax calculator? I'm looking to save like $2,000 this year.
I don't know. Based on this new model, I don't know what it's going to look like. But I already know. For me personally, it's not, because I cashed in a bond last year. So anyway, yeah. So neither here nor there. I'm not getting into that.
But yeah, that's what I was getting at, was that on the whole, the middle class is actually saving a little bit of money. But because you're seeing individual increases or individual decreases, something that's I guess, objectively a net positive you look at, is that good for the country? That's the real question.
Whenever you say overall, do you mean by the life of the 10-year tax cuts that are provided in the bill?
Everyone swears is going to be extended and it's going to be all good. We promise we'll figure it out in 10 years.
And what do you mean by middle class? So whenever you say the middle class will benefit, are you saying what do you mean by middle class? And do you mean a bill in place after 10 years?
That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm saying right now in 2018, we all have this shiny illusion, this sports car that looks like, hey, we're going to save a little money. And I think, and I don't remember the exact numbers. I don't remember the exact numbers for the tax brackets, but I know that I fall into one that's going to save money. I think it was the New York Times tax calculator. I was saving somewhere around $1,200. Cool. That was nice for me. I mean, but that doesn't mean that it's good for the country. It doesn't mean the impact as a whole is good.
It does my heart so good to hear you say that.
I mean, look, I'm a selfish creature. I will admit this.
I get that. We all are. To some extent, we're self-serving.
Yeah, I could use an extra $1,200.
But I hear a lot of people talk about whether or not policy is good or not, and this is not. Okay, it's a little bit to offend libertarians. That it comes down to whether or not it's personally good for them. And I'm going to caveat that with. And I'm sorry, because I know that doesn't apply to every libertarian everywhere, and that there's different degrees.
I mean, yes, we are generally clear. You're a right-leaning libertarian. Chances are that there's a selfish bent to the personal responsibility end and the idea that this is helping me directly. I love it, but at the same time, government is necessary to some degree. We're not all anarchists. You know, like we
most
still
of
exist.
you aren't. Yes,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Of course, you have ANCAPs. Okay, ANCAPs
we know
exist.
some.
Yeah, ANCAPs do exist. Those are the fedora hats. You know, we know that they're a real thing.
No neck beards.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, I thought you were shaving.
I haven't lost yet. I'll shave when I lose.
Lose what?
Court case that's decided by a judge.
Oh,
and lost.
Okay,
that yet.
I didn't know that was the game, but anyway,
it does continue
so,
to grow.
But back to this, back to taxes, back to okay, you're going to see a little bit of benefit.
What did you think of it? What is your opinion on the new tax bill?
As a libertarian, that's
sorry.
Good time to segue in.
Sorry, Melissa.
I love you, Melissa. Thank you for joining the squad.
As a libertarian, that is demonstrably a skosh right of James. I will say that, and a beneficiary of this new tax law. I don't see a hassle. I don't see a problem, because when I look at the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, especially the Constitution, I think my understanding of promote the general welfare is a lot different than what a progressive or liberal would define that as.
Sure, but let me ask you in context specifically of the government.
So wait, but do you like it or you dislike it?
I think she thinks she likes.
Oh, I'm getting a decrease in my tax burden, so I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but my point that I'm kind of wondering about is, how do you feel on a national level? Like, taking yourself out of the picture, is it good to increase national debt and deficit?
James, you're such a closet liberal.
No, not at all. No. I mean, because again, these are libertarian concerns too. These are libertarian concerns. The idea that, it's not just individual fiscal savings or spending. Like, it is the idea.
It's irresponsible for the debt.
Exactly. I think that this is a good idea. Decreasing taxes, actually abolishing income tax is really the goal. I would love that. But you have to do so in a way that doesn't drive us into the poorhouse instantly. Like, I don't want to lose my credit rating because I'm saving some money. Like, oh, I saved some money. Yeah, that's the same way as me not paying my student loans. Just say, fuck it. That's cool. I'm saving hundreds of thousands of dollars by not paying my debts.
Let her respond.
James, as a little more right-leaning libertarian than you, I think you know where I'm going to go with this.
Personal responsibility?
I think that's part of it, yes. Mm-hmm. You also know that I have just recently been laid off of my job.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I have not done? I have not applied for unemployment benefits because I'm fully competent, because I'm fully capable. I've already had 2 interviews this week, and I'm fully competent in believing in my abilities. If I need to,
you're the savings.
Like, why would you? I mean, that's
no.
I'm gonna let
If you call $5,000 a savings account, no, it's not a savings account. But what I'm going to say is, I feel a big detriment was handed to the whole welfare system when the whole work for benefit was eliminated, because therein lied a
work for
a training.
Basically, the trade-off system, which hasn't been eliminated, that's still there.
You still
have to maintain employment, or at least be making positive efforts towards it to continue.
No, you don't. No, you used to have to at least be working toward. You had to at least put in like a certain number of hours per week. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, what was the question?
Yeah. Well, so
Basically, you're saying you didn't apply for welfare assistance because you got laid off.
You don't need it, essentially.
Because of
no, I'm not saying
that's where this started. I kind of got lost on whether or not you
should. How does that like?
No. I got distracted. We're talking about taxes and how it and how it affects the the general welfare and the nationalism. As I understand, what the government was instated to do was to protect our borders, to make sure that we were secured, and to make sure that we had basic resources to pursue life, liberty, and happiness.
Yep, and also the idea of general consensus between the states, an arbiter of disagreements between the states or conflicts of law.
Well, however, the reason why I brought in the whole general welfare issue was there is some disagreement on what general welfare provisions entail, and I put forth that it is not the government's responsibility to coddle us from cradle to grave, meaning that we should not rely solely on the government for our resources.
Sure.
Because we were at the very beginning of our country an agrarian society, as were most societies. So I feel like,
but I don't know a country where everyone relies solely on the government for anything. And if we think about,
let me finish, Haley. We could rely solely on ourselves if we did not have government interference. If I wanted to put up solar panels on my roof, I should do that and live off the grid.
Cool.
If I wanted to not pay the electric company of my local municipality, I should be able to do that.
Sure. Who pays for your police? Who pays for your police, fire department?
No, I think
military, border protection.
Get more basic with this though, because you're
my roads. Who pays for my roads?
Because y'all have brought up running a country that starts getting sort of an unmanageable amount of federal debt, and we are getting these individual tax breaks, and I will personally see a benefit, but I wonder what else it's costing me in the sense of, we talked about how it's our country, they're supposed to protect our border and, provide basic needs to help us do our life and everything. And what's going to be cut? Is the educational, how's the education going to be in my neighborhood? How much is that going to get affected? I mean, am I going to get a personal benefit myself? Yeah, but what else is? I mean, the issues with how nonprofits are being taxed now.
Personally, I think that education should be handled at the state level and not the federal level.
Anyway. Well, I mean, it is handled at the state level, but it's just talking about a general. So, but y'all talked about how do you feel about the welfare of a country, and how I feel with your analogy. I mean, yeah, I don't. You should get unemployment benefits. I want you to not be in a really hard-pressed situation. I want you to be happy and healthy, perfectly able to get a new job. Yeah, and I don't see a problem.
But to get back to the question that was asked, I don't know if it was James or David or you, but here's the thing about police support. I live a quarter of a mile from a fire department. It's a local. It's a community.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yes, you do. I feel like I am more comfortable giving my resources, my financial resources, to local government than I am to federal, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to pay Washington to support me locally.
I apologize. Let me clarify what my question was, because Haley was kind of on point too, and we kind of lost it in the weeds a little bit on local education or something of that nature.
I mean, I just threw out the first example that I thought of.
You are Haley. You're definitely hitting on what I was talking about too, on the idea of, look, what is it? 56, 60% somewhere in there of our federal budget goes to military support. Period. They're losing money. All of us are losing money across the board when we increase national debt. I mean, we are literally writing checks our ass can't cash. Essentially, that's increasing our debt. And what I'm asking is, from a libertarian perspective, couldn't we apply the personal responsibility manifesto essentially to the government as a whole? Shouldn't the government should also be fiscally responsible? Because this move is not fiscally responsible for the government. This is a move that is touted by neoconservatives to increase the capacity of trickle-down economics. The idea that we'll create more jobs by giving the wealthy more money so they can create more jobs, but that's not helping our economy. Well,
I'm on board with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, as long as that is applied equally to every faction of the government that is being affected, whether it be the national defense, whether it be government assistance, whether it be whatever government expenditure that you might throw in that little, mosh posh. But it has to be equally applicable. I don't want to see the national defense, the military defense, be the one to take the hit when
there's a welfare program that could eat it, essentially. But what
exactly?
Okay, sure. The difference is those government welfare programs don't have nearly the fat to trim like the military budget does. Just for example,
a little bit off base of like the new tax code, though, because I think that
it would be good to bring it back.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at too. Is really I was looking at the implications of adding more debt without trimming spending. Well, we've just increased spending to give tax breaks to the wealthy classes and the corporations in the hopes that the money will trickle down.
And that's why I think when we try to set out this topic, the whole tax bill is this huge thing. It's very complex. We were trying to just hit on the corporate tax rate and what we're expecting as the impact. Now, I guess proponents of like trickle down economics would suggest.
No.
Are we way off?
Hang on.
What's up?
Sorry. What's up?
I'm just disagreeing with everything. Okay.
Sure. But I mean,
it was just. Can you expound?
You're talking about the richest of the richest getting less of a tax burden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
When you look at mathematically the numbers, they look like they're getting less of a hit. But when you trickle it, I hate to use that term.
But I mean, that is the concept, and it's not a flawed concept in my opinion. But of course, we could argue that all day.
Boy.
But I mean, I get it. I get the idea. The idea is that if you give the employers the money, they can expand business and create job opportunities.
I'm not even talking about job owners. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the wealthiest of the wealthiest. When you look at the numbers, and I'm not even a fucking financial calculus algebra genius, but when you look at the damn percentages, we all get a bit of a benefit. But when you look at the numbers, it doesn't take a fucking genius to figure out if you got more money, you get a bigger benefit, no matter what the percentage of the cut is.
Yeah, you get to. I mean, you are benefited directly by having more capital.
But that's the question. It's even if the tax bill benefits you personally, you have to. I mean, how much of a duty do you have as an American to then look to see, like, how good is this for the country as a whole? And what is it actually costing me as a citizen here? Is it going, me being personally benefited by this tax bill is a good thing, but I think that I want to make sure that I look beyond that to because I want America to be a great country.
Yeah, I mean, and you could look at it from different perspectives.
James, let me answer Haley. Let me answer her with a question. I hate that, but let me answer her with a question. How deeply do we have to cut the richest of the rich to make them hurt, to make it equal for everybody else?
Well, I'm not interested in dishing out pain.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
I don't think it's about hostility.
Sorry, my initial question, I think we fell off the rails. My initial question was, if we're increasing national debt and national deficit, doesn't that hurt the country as a whole? I mean, even though as individuals we're getting a gain, that's great. But my point there, my question and point there is that no matter which way you want to look at it, from whatever federal program is dependent on a budget that you love, be it welfare and education, or national military spending and border security, they all take a hit as you decrease or as you increase debt and increase deficit. I mean, that's what this bill accomplishes. It puts more money in the pockets of Americans while fucking us on a national level across the board.
I think, well,
I mean, our slice of the pie as a federal government gets hurt.
Okay, well, let me rephrase my question.
What was David going to say? He'll probably bring it all back.
Yeah, I'm trying. Basically, as I understand it, what's being proposed here is that we cut the corporate tax rate in hopes that we see enough growth that would neutralize the amount of increased deficit, increased debt that we're going to be taking on by doing so. So that's the gambit. That's the core gambit. And the real question is, do we think that's going to pan out?
We decrease taxes in the hope that there's more earnings, which increases more tax revenue.
But David, doesn't diminishing or lowering the corporate tax rate make it more attractive for those companies that have gone abroad, because our national corporate tax rate has been so high?
Well, but this already happened. The last time we lowered our corporate tax rate, Reagan did it. Every other country just lowered their corporate tax rate. You know.
I mean, well, yeah, no, but I mean I think that overall in the long term, that's still a good thing. Lowering tax rates.
Okay, so what you're saying, Haley, is that we shouldn't do it because that's not going to bring our businesses back to the United States. So let's don't do it because.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is a tax policy that's going to be in place for theoretically longer than 10 years. And by saying cut the corporate tax rate, I do see the initial benefit of we'll be more competitive, but I also know from history and from basic capitalism principles, other people will lower their corporate tax rate. So I don't know how
not just their corporate tax rate, but they'll
adjust. I don't know how sustainable that argument is that lowering the cut.
If it's an American
in your plan,
if it's an American company and we've lowered the tax rate, the corporate tax rate, and they come back, if it makes it profitable for them, what says they have to go? Just because Japan or Korea or Australia lowers it, it might not be the most profitable thing to do at the time for them to go back. We need to bring back businesses, bring back American business.
But that's a short-term solution to a long-term problem, is what Haley is saying. Is that when you have countries that will just adjust to make themselves still even more attractive than America, I think again, we're moving towards the appropriate goal from a libertarian perspective of eliminating income tax. Do it through tariffs and everything else. Taxes on the back end, not on the front end. But that's a whole different story. My point here is that even if you are trying to accomplish this conservative ideal, the first step is to balance the budget and make cuts to it that are realistic so you can support the country still when you decrease the taxes. Because when you take a $1.5 trillion national debt hit and it goes up by that, you could have solved that problem easily by trimming fat from the budget first and then passing a tax bill that could be sustained by that.
Well, I mean, but debt isn't like having debt isn't bad as a country.
If you can't pay it back, it is. It certainly begins to affect our ability to pay it back. You know, that's fine. It's good to have debt. Debt is good. Debt is credit. They're related to each other, but you have to be able to pay your bills.
Yeah, because the idea is that you're
and if you start cutting drastically from your revenue, which is taxes, and you keep spending like a glutton, you are not solving this problem. That's what I'm saying is we haven't curbed our spending. You know, we're making less money now. We officially made a decision to make a lot less money, and we didn't stop spending. That's a problem.
I hear you on that. My only point is like that's a down the road problem that's very realistic. But in the actual concept of debt, like I don't think we need to get it down to zero. I don't think it's a bad thing to have for a country to have debt.
Not at all. I think
this is not a down the road problem. We've already been down the road for many decades.
We haven't been unable to pay our bills yet.
we've seen
our credit rating was lowered in 2008.
Yeah, it was
because we were not able to pay our debt.
And that's what I'm getting at. And that's why I'm saying this tax bill is a bad idea because of that alone. I'm glad that it helps Americans. I'm glad I'm going to see a benefit from it. But that's still a bad thing. This is a basic fundamental of just responsible spending and being responsible for your money and what you do. You can't keep burning money like a diva if you can't afford to pay it. And when you just decide to take an income cut, you can't be like, well, fuck it, I'm going to keep living on the same budget I was on before.
I think that you can burn money like a diva and take out massive debts when you are an actual diva. And I think that in order to be an actual diva as a country, we need to have a healthy, robust, population that can be innovative as fuck and not have to worry about certain basic needs. Hell, I do like having roads. I do like my airports to be really good and not a bunch of planes crash.
Thank you, Donald Trump, because apparently in 2017,
a lot of things the federal government provides.
Oh God, shut up.
I have a question then. Then I have a serious question.
Go for it.
If we continue to spend like divas as an America,
we do.
Who are we going to go to when we run out of diva money?
Right now it looks like China. We're going to have to go to the
Well, the thing is, typical diva rules would dictate that if you were a diva, you'd also have a lot of friends. We're also failing in that degree too. So
yeah,
we need to get back to being.
That's my point. We do not need to behave like we do not have any concerns. Financially or
this is
internationally.
A great segue to the Trump Kim Jong-un tweet. Oh wait, never mind. It was Bannon. Never mind.
Oh, but I think they're related. I mean, it was still the same concept. I was just making a joke about that.
I mean, that was a diva
I was
tweet.
making a joke about airports when Trump tweeted that we had 0 air deaths in the United States in 2017, which is not true, by the way. Yeah. But he tweeted that anyway, that there were 0 deaths attributable to that, and he took credit for it. So I said,
so what, airlines or aircraft?
That's
completely different.
I believe he says
there's general aviation.
Yeah, I understand the FAA, GA, different things. Okay, yeah, but I think what he said was that there were 0 deaths period by aircraft, and I'm kind of like, that's not true at all. I can think of several. We lost some country music star not that long ago that everyone was real sad about. I can't remember his name, but him and his family died in a general aviation crash not too long ago.
Way to go, Dirk! Right there.
Was it Dirk? I don't know.
Way to go, Dark.
Way to go, Dark.
Oh, Dark. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're thinking of Dark Bentley?
Yeah, it was.
I don't think he died.
Sorry.
But
I
anyway.
Don't know, man. Like this. If it ain't Outlaw Country, I'm not listening to it. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Anyway, where the hell were we?
What we were talking about was this idea
we're about to transition.
I think, it's probably a decent time to transition to Trump. I don't know if just to put a bow on the first issue is I don't, and I try to put a bow on so we can say we said something about it, maybe some sort of consensus or the semblance of one. I don't know if what's going to happen with the court. I think it will bring certain companies back, or I think it will draw certain companies to the U.S. I don't think the numbers are going to work out where it's going to be enough to justify the tax cut. That's my opinion on it. Again, and who could say there could be this massive windfall or not? And that's worrisome because I don't think there was a good amount of thought or research into whether or not this would have the intended effect when this policy was put into place. Because I think it was mostly about Republican congressmen doing stuff to help themselves out. But anyway, that's I guess all I have to say about it. If anybody else has anything else, sort of now is the time.
I think I made my my point, at least from the general libertarian perspective of stop spending money stupidly.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I can get with you on that one.
Yeah,
again.
Well, I don't know what my takeoff with that would be. So.
Well, that's all right.
But I do see some of what you're saying though, Melissa. That I think it will attract companies.
I completely agree, and I mean I will sit here and tell you,
and it's my concern, and I don't know.
Economics is not the savior neoconservatives sell it to be. There is a realistic basis to the idea of you put more money in the pockets of employers. They then seek to increase their businesses based on fiduciary duty.
To an extent.
Yeah.
Or they buy back stock and give themselves huge bonuses. Either one.
Anyway.
Oh,
anyway.
oh.
But let's move on. Let's move on.
Donald Trump and Stephen K. Bannon.
I think this could really be a good thing, though, actually. And this isn't to bag on either one. So personally, I obviously don't like either one of them.
Yeah, we talked about this, though. And basically, if you guys aren't familiar with the rundown.
But could this be good for the GOP? Seriously.
Well, that is kind of my question, too. I think we should branch over this topic again.
Overview of what happened.
That's what I was going to say. Is let me give it a little quick overview. Is that we've got this guy named Michael Wolff who writes for The Guardian, publishing a book called Fire and Fury. I think his subtitle to that book was something along Inside the Trump White House. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. What happened in there is that he had unprecedented access to the president, his staffers, his aides, his cabinet. Like, everyone had opinions. Like, he wrote a book based on it. And apparently Mr. Bannon really enjoyed running his fucking mouth. And he did a whole lot of mouth running. And one of his conclusions that really drew the ire of the president was that Jared Kushner and Donald Trump Jr. committed treason when they spoke with our friend Natalia Veselnitskaya. In that Trump Tower meeting we have that we have analyzed and overanalyzed on this podcast in the past.
Oh yeah.
But
the Browder episode,
the Browder theory, man, is real shit. But anyway. I don't want to. I can take my tinfoil hat back off again. But anyway, that obviously pissed the president off because the president responded in kind with an official White House statement that was extremely scathing. And our own Haley Fox was dropping some quotes from it. I hope she remembers some of them. Please tell us.
Why do you have to transition it that way? Like,
I know you were just away, but we were hoping you had those pulled up.
I know, but I really...
my favorite line was, "Sorry, winning. You're not winning as easy as I make it look." Or
there's something along those. Winning is not easy as I make it. Is not as easy as I make it look.
As I make it look. And whenever he lost whenever he was fired from his job, he lost his job and he lost his mind.
Yeah, I mean there were some gems in there.
Yeah, he was completely vicious.
Nothing to do with my presidency, like, you know.
And I'm not. And let me make a point of this. I'm not going to suddenly start enjoying the nasty things that Trump says just because he's saying them for once about somebody I also don't like. Like, I'm not going to go there with it. As far as I'm concerned, they're still both bad dudes. Okay, I don't like either one. Yeah, but what does this mean? The fact that there's a divorce from sort of the Bannon base. And will there be a divorce?
For those who are not familiar, Bannon is the head of Breitbart. Bannon has alluded to not even alluded. He's asserted the idea that Breitbart is the national or the platform for the alt-right. That he gives a voice to the unspoken extreme rightists, and that
dark web credits.
But you have to understand that these people are also a very strong base of Donald Trump's. So what happens when Breitbart starts slamming everything Donald Trump does and starts using their propaganda machine to go anti-Trump?
Or did he just delegitimize Bannon? I mean, that's the
Breitbart's
question.
Going to. I mean, I can tell
you. Before we started the Hangout and talked about taxes, that was something that you were kind of saying, David, that you think Bannon's over.
I'm not saying he's over, but I think he's been significantly reduced. Can he recover from it? Sure, at some point maybe. But he backed the loser essentially. When
Uncle Touchy,
he backed Uncle Touchy, and Uncle Touchy lost. And,
not by that much.
Not by much.
Let's not ignore that Trump also backed him. Okay.
But also Bannon
get him, Roy. He said that.
But Bannon got Trump to back him and got Hannity to back him and brought the RNC in to fund him again.
Well,
everybody cut ties.
If y'all, sorry.
Go ahead.
If y'all remember, whenever it was the more Luther Strange, sorry, every time I think of his name, I just think of like a Bond villain.
Oh, no, I actually am thinking of Hugo Strange.
Whenever it was their primaries.
Or Doctor Strange.
But yeah. Doctor Strange is Hugo Strange.
Primaries, Trump backed.
Marvel character.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, sorry. We're nerding out here over comic book stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Dr. Stephen Strange.
Whenever they were doing the primaries, Trump backed Strange, and then Bannon was like, "I got more to win, bitch," and you're the president. But then Moore lost because
because Uncle Touchy is Uncle
even
Touchy.
Bannon couldn't get a
Really, but honestly, he lost by 1.5%. I'm just saying that, like, It was really close. It was,
but a loss is a loss.
For anyone who did,
and doesn't that mean something to Trump?
Trust me, I'm a Titans fan, baby. We're in the playoffs. A loss is a loss, and a win's a win, even if they're ugly as shit.
Sure. You know, I actually hadn't thought about it too much, but you know, it is a loss. It's a big loss, and Trump gets to make fun of him for it. But then, you know, the next thing we see is Trump saying, "Sorry, winning isn't as easy as I make it look." To, you know,
after you backed Luther Strange and lost, you know,
statement, not in a tweet, in a White House press statement.
That's
pretty.
I agree, and that's what I'm kind of getting at here is that, you know, the base that reads Breitbart, which is also a large portion of Donald Trump's base, isn't going to stop reading Breitbart because Donald Trump's mad at him. In all fairness, the average American isn't going to think, Steve Bannon, well, he runs Breitbart, I'm not going to trust Breitbart anymore, because they've been getting information from Breitbart for years.
So here's the question, though. It's not so much how much of, because we know that the Breitbart base is very, very much has been a big part of the Trump base. Sure,
push out their
but how much is the Breitbart base necessary to the future of the GOP? I think that's a better question.
God, I hope.
I think you're right, because I was just thinking, I've thought for a very long time that like Steve Bannon is like really freaking terrifying, but Trump did just like, I don't know, he just
disavowed him completely. Essentially,
he did. He really did.
I mean, because Bannon's had some incendiary things. I'm sorry, go ahead, Haley.
And the thing is, like, you should still be really afraid of Bannon, Trump, but shit, you just did that.
Yeah, you really just calling out and said, look, you can't sit with us. You know?
Yeah, and like that might not work out for you in the end.
And that's what
but I'm not worried about. I'm not worried so much about just Trump. It's what is the party going to do moving forward? Was this move on Trump's part? Is this sort of a change in the wind, essentially? That even if it's not going to benefit Trump in the long run, because he rode to victory on the Bannon base, is the party being able to is his disassociation from Bannon and maybe turning off a bunch of the Breitbart base, while that might be bad for him, is it going to be good for the party to say, we're not with you guys anymore, you can't sit with us, kind of thing? You know, moving forward, moving past Trump into, you know, the next election cycle or the one after that, is this going to be better for you guys?
It's the one after that we're concerned about. I would assume you're going to see a blue rush in 2018. I mean, Republicans are going to spend money against it, and we'll see what happens. But I would assume that more often than not, you're going to see seats flip blue. If they're going to flip, they're flipping blue. You know, like, you're not going to see blue states flip red, you know, blue seats flip red.
The question
the Reds are going to have to hold on.
Did Trump make the decision that he was going to be the GOP's true sacrificial lamb, because maybe he accepts he's about to get skewered anyway, that he was going to like call out the big mean bully, and Bannon's going to get so pissed that he takes himself out at the same time?
God, I hope you're so right. Is that really what
I
love the idea of ascribing all of this genius to Donald Trump when he reeks of like dementia. I love the idea that we're actually selling him on this. If that was the calculated move and you saved the GOP and gave us back to the moderates,
I gotta die.
I might actually become religious. Like, I might actually believe in God. Maybe even
that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping it's going to be the end result. I cannot credit Trump with making that as a conscious decision. I can't do it. I really can't go that far.
Is this a superposition? Is that what I want to know? Like,
stop.
Okay, sorry.
Melissa, what do you think?
I want to know what Melissa has to say, because she's been
I think we probably irritated you with the last segment. But I think this segment has stuff for everyone to be hopeful about.
Predict them.
I really do. No, I'm not saying
this is wild prediction time, is what it is. We're just waxing philosophical about all kinds of random.
I predict that Trump is the sacrificial lamb for the GOP.
The unintentional sacrificial lamb.
I don't know, man. Sound like what? I don't want to put words in Haley's mouth, but it sounded like she was saying that this was an intentional move.
No, but not. I mean,
Trump is not the guy who falls on his sword, though.
I don't know if it's
he's not that dude.
I'm sorry. What I'm asking is, are you saying he wandered onto the altar by accident, or he kind of saw where he needed to walk to and was like, okay, well, forgive me, Father.
I think he wandered into the church by accident.
I think he was smelling the incense and he sneezed and fell backwards onto the altar. I think that's what happened.
I think he totally wandered into the church, and then he got too close to the altar where he had to be like, all right.
Okay. So a little in between of he realized when it was too late and he was already in the church, like, oh shit, and like,
oh man,
all right.
What
I mean, in that case, I would love to see history write Donald Trump as the sacrificial lamb who died for the sins of the party.
He restored the balance to the force.
Darth Vader, if you will. I mean, honestly, yeah.
But didn't he do that by slaughtering younglings?
Well, I think the younglings have already been slaughtered.
Like kids.
Hang on, I really want to hear what Melissa had to say, though, because
why?
I mean, I really do. I mean, we're over here just like joking and talking about our opinions, and I haven't heard anything from you on this one. I really am curious. Like, how do you see this move?
About Bannon?
Yeah, the Bannon-Trump divorce, essentially. Like, what does it mean for the GOP?
I have a thought.
Go for it.
It occurs to me that for the last 2 years, progressives, liberals, Democrats have been talking about how Bannon is just akin to the Antichrist.
Scary demon, like Karl Rove was.
Exactly, like Karl Rove or Ken Starr.
Mm-hmm.
Just evil. And now all of a sudden, Bannon publishes this little nugget that all the liberals, progressives, and Democrats are like, oh, see. Which is, to me, just definitive of fucking politics. You get what you want and you glom onto it, regardless of who gives it to you. That's all.
Are you suggesting this is like maybe like a game they're playing, basically,
well, I mean,
to draw attention?
The Guardian is actually a fairly moderate, if not even conservative source, if I remember correctly. That's a UK publication, but in my understanding,
I'm not really sure how they would.
The Guardian
is actually liberal.
Okay.
But Trump's press secretary is Trump's press secretary.
Well, yeah, no. I'm saying, like, but why would Trump give such access to a liberal publication in his White House?
Did Trump give access to Bannon?
This is all based on no. Well, he gave plenty of access to Bannon. I mean, he made Bannon his campaign manager, chief strategist, allowed him to influence his policy decisions, named him to the National Security Council.
Slow your roll a minute so I can speak.
I'm sorry. What I meant to say
was she wants to speak. Stop talking.
Sorry, I was trying to qualify.
I love you, brother, but seriously, go ahead, Melissa.
What Bannon is about, what Bannon is saying right now, is not flattering to Trump.
No,
right?
Not at all.
Oh, yeah.
At all.
At
so
all.
what I'm saying is, all of my liberal friends that have lost their minds trying to discredit everything that Bannon said about Trump are now on the bandwagon saying Bannon is right. Bannon is the gospel. So what I'm saying is,
I am not on that bandwagon. I'm
not, Haley. I'm not putting you in that that wagon.
No, but I feel what you're saying, Melissa. I understand.
Slow down. What I'm saying is not what politics today has been reduced to. We're reduced to whatever satisfies our opinions, agrees with our attitudes. Is that not what we've been reduced to lately?
You know, it's funny you say that because I'm always trying to convince Matthias, my fiance, to come on the podcast or the Hangouts here with us. And he just doesn't follow American news anymore. really, and he hasn't for a while. And today we almost got him on, but he was like, I don't know anything about American politics. I follow international news. American politics is a reality TV show right now.
I completely agree with him, and I think that's exactly what Melissa was saying.
Yeah. So
correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but I think that's exactly what you're getting at.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is it's become reduced to tweets and Facebook posts, and maybe on the off chance that we get on Reddit, and all of the other permutations of the news. But the bigger point I was hoping to make is Bannon was the ridicule of the left progressive charge during the election. And now he's turned on his maker. And now all of a sudden the left progressive people are like, oh, those Bannon that I spoke ill of as a false news and ignorant and, just bullshit promulgator of bullshit, promulgation, bullshit. Oh, yeah. No. Oh, God, he's an oracle. Now he's an oracle. Oh, listen to him now.
No, I'm with you.
He speaks the gospel.
I'm with you there. And kind of something that we talked about before was that the liberals, at least in my view, from what I've seen, and I mean the liberals with the capital L, the devils, anybody on the left, the liberals, from how I've seen them, they always feared Bannon as a kingmaker, like Karl Rove before him, like somebody who can whisper in ears and change the way political structure works. Like you can change a candidate in a primary. You can totally just give the advantage to somebody else or completely move things over one direction or another. And I think to some degree, that's the way it is. Like I do truly believe Bannon is a kingmaker and the liberals should be afraid of him. He wields a lot of power. I mean, he does. How the hell do you think Donald Trump won? I mean, you can make the argument of Russian interference, whatever, but the last 3 months of his campaign, when he became popular and he got shit going and things were happening, he made Stephen K. Bannon his campaign manager. When his presidency took over, he let Steve Bannon run pretty much everything as far as policy went. He was the guy who made decisions.
What does this have to, where are we going with anything right now, guys?
My point here is that with Bannon, he really was in control of things. I don't think that the liberals are essentially, saying, oh, we believe Bannon or anything of that nature. I think the issue is that they're just enjoying Schadenfreude, essentially. Like they're happy. They're seeing it. They're seeing it, and they're like, "Oh my God, Steve Bannon is shitting on Donald Trump. Righteous."
What though, James? James? I have to be honest, James. I have had about a year and a half of Schadenfreude. Right now, Schadenfreude.
I can't say it. I don't speak German. God damn it.
Anyway. Okay, David. Okay. Yeah. Schadenfreude is taking pleasure in the misfortune of others.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I guess my point, to what you were saying before, that you're, I guess, in contact with liberals that are suddenly championing Bannon over this. I guess I really want to talk to.
You weren't liberals just then.
Because I don't know what they are.
They are seriously dyed in the wool liberal.
I want seriously put me in contact because they need to have a talking to. Is my impression from that,
as far as liberals go,
I think Bannon is an evil piece of shit. I think he's demonstrably worse as a human being than Donald Trump is.
What about Karl Rove?
Those are, I don't know, apples and oranges.
But it's
bad, but in a different way.
That it's the kingmaker and the king are fighting right now, and that ends in a series of ways. And you know what? I can't believe you made me say the phrase kingmaker.
Anyway.
It just annoys me. So
no.
Telling me that phrase today is like, oh, have you ever heard that before?
I didn't speak that. I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Basic. I said a basic definition.
Like, come on. But it all only ends a few ways, and one of them is it all explodes.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
That's actually the typical way it ends.
We saw that, but we did see that happen with the Bernie-Hillary fight in the DNC and everybody else too. Is that?
Oh, I was going like more classical.
Well, I know. I'm just trying to use a recent example. Like, I mean, when hoi polloi is obsessed with Bernie Sanders, and you kind of take away their will and give them Hillary Clinton anyway, and just kind of like, nah, it was really close, but fuck it. We got 1,000 super delegates that are all in the pockets of everybody else, and let's just do it this way.
Kingmaker and the King didn't do a good job for the didn't do a good job for the Democrats.
And it causes the implosion
for the GOP right now. They're fighting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we're seeing a repeat of that. That's what I'm afraid of.
I have a question.
What's up?
Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
ask? What happens if the next 3 years turns out to be a good thing for all parties?
I think that Donald Trump earns a second term if he can survive Mueller's investigation.
More than that, James. More than that. What happens if the next 3 years turns out to be a corporate genius move, and we re-elect this guy? What does that do for the government going forward?
I think that if somehow Donald, I mean, this is just my opinion. You guys feel free to weigh in. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. I thought it was asked to me, but I'd like to hear everybody's opinion on it. I think that if Donald Trump gets a second term, everything's hunky-dory, I guess, on an economic level, you're going to see progressives lose their fucking mind and gather the pitchforks and torches, and you're going straight to socialism real fucking quick, or at least democratic socialism. I mean, we're going to push hard left. And I said the same thing before the election. We talked about this on election night when we were all on the podcast together. We talked about how, at least I threw out the idea that if the left wins, like if Hillary Clinton wins, the right is going to hold power for the next 50 years. And if Donald Trump wins and the right wins, the left will hold power for the next 50 years. I think that prediction still holds true. You're going to see a huge backlash. They are so universally hated, and there's no way for them to recover their reputation based on how much it's been run through the mud. I mean, you're going to need to see, like, literally the resurrection of Christ. Christ is going to have to come back and be like, I anointed Donald Trump. And then maybe the right will gain so much power that they'll overpower this leftist movement. But the leftist movement is in full swing. It's in full swing.
I have a second question.
Yes, ma'am.
What would it take, in your opinion, both you and David, what would it take to return us back to a place in time where I'm not going to say Republican, where conservative and liberal ideologies could coexist?
You mean like when
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Please do.
I think what it's going to take in the short term is actually Democrats taking control of Congress. And because the Democrats that are running right now and the Democrats that will be running in the next year, these are not your fringe far left, like wackadoodle granola people. Okay. These are more or less centrist, it's a little bit to the left, but you're normal Democrats. Okay. These are normal politicians. Okay. And we're comparing these people to what is currently in Congress right now, who and they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because either they're Trump supporters and they lick the boots of Donald Trump and earn the ire of everyone else who doesn't, right? And that makes them unattractive, or they're resistant of that, and then they're in fear of being primaried. So these guys are stuck between a rock and a hard place. It takes these people losing their seats in office and being replaced by Democrats, so that just like with Roy Moore, okay, that Roy Moore lost. Okay, but pretty much any other Republican is gonna win next term. Okay, when that election comes back around, pretty much any other Republican. But we've established that there is such a thing as a bridge too far. What we're gonna find
Thank God it was
fielding Republican candidates that do not exist in a bridge too far. That they have a little bit of spine, okay, and they actually care about the American people. And they're not beholden in that same way that the people who exist there now do. It's going to take that to basically this pendulum to swing left, at least in the short term, and then it can come back towards the middle again, and we can see some normal politics again. I think that's what it's going to take.
Okay, then I have a follow-up question to that. For all of the party members, all of the panel members, or all of the
us fermenters.
Yes, right. Can we be our own party? Because I feel like we could actually get shit done. But
no, we couldn't.
Well, no.
Shut up, Haley. No one asked you.
What language? What language? Because I think that we can all agree that the language that is commonly used in politics today is a very dividing, very divisive. What language would it take for you to hear from an opposition party to make you truly listen to the message?
You mean rhetoric?
No, I'm not talking rhetoric. I'm talking about what would make you listen to a member of an opposing party from your deeply held beliefs. What would you listen to make you think about? I'm talking about getting to a middle ground here. What would it take for you? What language would you listen to? What would the language have to be for you to listen to another party?
Can I do this one too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
What it's going to take is an approach it's not based on wedge social issues. It's not based on doctrinaire rhetoric. It's going to be based on what is the common interest of all Americans. What is the same problem that you and I have, Melissa? What is the same problem that James and I have, that we can have? What is a bipartisan solution? We all basically want the same shit, right? We want good economic opportunity. We want a safe place to live, safe place for our kids to grow up, for them to get a good education. We all want the same basic shit in life, and we disagree on, truthfully, very little as a percentage of what we see and what our values are and what our worldview is. There's very little difference, and we focus in on it, and that's where all of our rhetoric goes. Okay, and it causes us to hate each other, and it's bullshit.
It causes us to not listen to each other. That's
exactly.
Yeah, I think Haley's got the point there. Yeah, it causes not listening to each other. But I would disagree.
If you can talk to me about shit that I care about too, that are not wedge social issues, I can get on board with it. I've said for probably a couple of years now that you guys have known me, and say, you talk to me about stuff that's a little bit more fiscally conservative, I can get on board with that. Sure. When you start talking to me about, how you hate on gays and abort, all this other, we're going to just fight all day long.
It's completely unproductive. You can shove your anti-individual liberty opinions up your fucking ass, as far as I'm concerned. I don't really want to hear it. If you want to be you, be you. And I really do not want to hear transphobic, homophobic, whatever the fuck. I don't want to hear it. I don't care.
Yeah, I just want to hear someone who will also listen to other sides. That's the kind of things that I want to hear from politicians more, rather than
we always seem to draw battle lines. The battle lines are always about a fucking bathroom bill or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I just think that we should do better at listening to everyone.
Okay. So if there was, and I'm going to tell you, when I was younger, and oh my gosh, until 3 years ago, I was a Republican. I used to vote occasionally for Democrats that had the right ideals. But since I've been in Tennessee, since I left Texas and moved to Tennessee, I don't know that many people that I can say are Republicans that voted for Democrats because they had the right ideas. I lied to my husband about a local person who also lied about her affiliation, her political affiliation. And so technically, my husband did vote for his beliefs, but he doesn't know that she was a Democrat. But she did.
But that's the big pages of IDPOL, like the idea of identity politics. Like, really? IDPOL is the abbreviation.
I get it.
But James, if you think deep in your recesses, you probably know which politician I'm referring to.
I do indeed, but that's not relevant.
I know.
All I'm saying is that, really, are we really this obsessed with a letter next to somebody's name?
That's the problem.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. That's why I lied to my husband to get him to vote for the right person, even though she lied to
her constituents about what she was going to do. Yeah, of course.
No, not her constituents, her employer.
Come on.
Ask Melissa after the show.
It's not voter fraud, though.
No, it's not voter fraud.
Not voter fraud.
It's just general
it's misrepresentation.
It's just general marital deception. This is a normal thing.
We're okay. We're not trying to dig any.
There's no rules against relationships.
But I think.
You know what though? The woman has now since been retired, so it's not going to be an issue. I mean, I could tell you, but I'm not going to do it on this.
No, it's not.
We'll wait for the couple because I need to know.
Okay, now you just got all of our listeners.
I know,
16 of them.
Yeah, all three.
Really
we have one current viewer right now. I'm wondering who that is. It's probably my parents because I told them about the show. I showed them a couple of our hangouts when I was on vacation.
Shout out David's parents.
Shout out to parents.
And I bet that listener can't even spell Colioca.
I can spell it.
Culleoka. Colioca. Slam dunk. Bow.
Okay.
But you're not. James, you freaking long-haired, chin-haired freak. No, you're not the one that needed to spell it.
Oh, well. No one else is going to even come close.
I didn't know if she was talking about. I thought for a second she was
probably me. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I'll volunteer that I can't spell it without looking it up. Anyway, I think we should probably wrap up here.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I really like the end of the discussion because I think there's things to be hopeful about in the future. I really think that this is going to be a good thing ultimately, not necessarily for Trump, and I really hope not for Bannon.
I'm
seriously, she's a horrible
go on
being.
record and say I really hope Haley's right. I hope Haley's right. Yes. Please save my party. Please give me my GOP back. Please.
Yes, please give you your GOP back. I completely agree.
Yes,
what you were saying, Melissa, I would love to be able to say that I voted for a Republican or a Libertarian, and I can be able to hold my head up when I do it. Okay, I yearn for that day. I really do. Because as much as, yes, I am a Democrat. Yes, I want to see all the Republicans in Congress right now to lose because they don't seem to have any spine to me. That if we can move forward, if we can move past this crap and we can just talk about what the issues are and who's got the best idea about the way to move forward, I'm fine with that. I don't care what letter you have next to your name if you can do that. But we don't live in that world right now. That's the world I want to live in. And
I remember the days when I was naive and I followed a two-party system as well. So
I feel you. And same. I remember the days when I was liberal and voted D down the board because I just figured that was when I was a kid. Yeah, I was also young.
D when he was a kid.
Yeah, voted right down the board, straight.
You sound like an evangelical. I used to be an atheist, but then I saw the.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm sorry. Some people do get smarter and go the other political direction.
See, that's but that's what they say. But anyway,
talking about, so
let's cut it off now before we turn this into a knife fight.
Just saying.
Anyway, Happy New Year's, everybody! Great having everybody back. Lots more to come in 2018. So much more Ferment.
Oh, yes.
Indeed. Check out the podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. Love you, my fermenters. And with that, till next time, right?
I'm your co-host. I'm James McVeigh. That's Haley Fox.
Melissa.
That's Melissa Sandifer. And
I said bye, Dave's parents.
Bye, Dave's parents, if you're watching.
Bye, Mom and Dad. Love you.